Policies here to just give you an overview of some of the housing options that are available off campus for faculty and professional staff, but also potentially for graduate students who are coming to campus. So they just wanted to come and share some of their properties with you and talk about some of the they have an open house coming up where you can go and see the properties and some of the features that they have. So we welcome, this is David Yeager from Radnor Property Group.
Hi everybody, how you doing?
Good.
Toasty out there. Thanks for the introduction. Again, my name is Dave Yeager with Radnor Property Group. Our partners here, our leasing managers, are also here with Bizzuto Management Company, Doreen Trongone, Terry Burkett, and Kathleen Eccleston. You may not know, we're actually partners with the university at View 32 at 32nd and Race. So that's Drexel University owned property, and we are the owner of the improvements, and we've been under construction for quite some time, and so we've been involved in that endeavor. And then if we go to the other side of the river, we're developers of the Hamilton, which is only a block and a half away from Hahnemann Hospital at 15th and Hamilton. So very briefly going to talk to you very quickly about what these projects are, and also the content and the makeup of the residency, which hopefully you'll be very interested in. And there's unfortunately 3 different files. Wasn't sure which audience I was speaking to, so I think I'm going to spin through some of these pretty quickly, and if you need more detail, we can always go to the more detailed file, okay? Great. So anyway, as an update, to the left, View 32 at 32nd and Race, and Hamilton at 15th and Hamilton Street. For those of you who, not knowing if you were not familiar with the downtown, if Hahnemann Hospital is in this area, we're directly north off the site, very easily walking distance. So under construction now. And just in terms of the overall highlights, on the left-hand side, View 32, 164 apartments, Class A, quality, and a makeup of studio apartments, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And with the Hamilton, larger development, 279 apartment units, and that is actively in construction. It's phase 1 of a 2-phase project. That's a larger development of 279 apartments, and also a mix of studios, junior 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedroom units, with modern facilities that you'd see in any market rate multifamily housing development. It is not student housing. It is market rate housing. So what you'll see in both of these developments is a mix of professionals as well as graduate students. And just in terms of where we are right now, in View 32, we finished construction over a year ago. So happy to say that it's gone quite well. We're 94% leased, and that delivery occurred last summer. And in terms of the makeup of the residency, the student to professional occupancy, we have 70% of our occupants are students. So 70-30. The remaining 30% are young professionals that work at Penn Medicine, decide to work in downtown Philadelphia, and candidly, we also have some residents that commute to Manhattan because of the proximity to 30th Street Station. So it's predominantly student right now. The interesting thing is that even though we're on Drexel's campus, of the student population, only 35% of them are from Drexel graduate students. And this project was conceived to be a Drexel community. So ironically, though, we actually have 65% of our makeup from University of Pennsylvania graduate student programs. I will say the preponderance of the makeup in terms of the graduate students, a lot of law students, I'd say, Kathleen?
Yes.
And a mix of what other sort of graduate students would you see at View 32?
We see some med, engineering, biomed, and law is the predominant demographic.
So, again, since the goal and objective was to make sure that this was created as a Drexel community, we hope that next year that this percentage of 35% really moves up, and that perhaps actually switches, so that we have more Drexel students than, let's say, University of Pennsylvania students. And we did have a series of incentives going on while we were in lease-up. Now that we're close to 94% occupancy, those incentives have gone away at this point in time. But we do have still quite a bit of availability for 2-bedroom units. So to the extent that there's a mad rush, which we typically see in August timeframe before the academic year begins, we'd love to see more Drexel more Drexel residents. The rental rate is anywhere from $1,700 to about $2,900 a month. So the $1,700 a month would really be for what we call the junior one bedroom. If we shift across the river to the Hamilton, which is under construction, 279 units, as I said, right now we're 29% leased. The first phase of those units won't be delivered until August timeframe. So we're in the middle of construction. It is a construction site. We have quite a few incentives available, sort of as what do we call them, early prospects. Terry, we don't should call them early prospects.
Early birds.
Early birds, okay. Yeah, hard to remember, right? So those units will begin to be delivered in August, and the whole building will be completed in November. But as an incentive to induce those that may be likely to be interested in moving into a building that is somewhat under construction and in phase, we are offering about 2 months free rent. Now, if you look at the complexion, one would think that it's a professional, just a professional building and not really geared towards graduate students. We are focusing on the demographic of graduate students and those that have a tight budget. So what you're seeing in the Hamilton is a lower price point than the overall market is experiencing, where our starting rents are $1,400 a month for our small studio apartments. What we're seeing in the marketplace is that units tend to get smaller, but amenity spaces continue to be enlivened primarily to engage in social interaction. So our amenity spaces are getting bigger. We have a lot more common areas, things like conference rooms, activity rooms, billiards, library, Wi-Fi bar, the things that you would see in modern day living right now, where we're seeing a lot of interaction, people social networking. So what is happening is that the unit sizes themselves are getting smaller, but the amenities are getting much bigger. In terms of, it's so early to tell, but we're off to a very quick start, being almost 30% leased right now. So that's pretty much unprecedented for new construction at this stage. But the student professional breakup is about a 50-50 split. So, not bad. And I should say that the land here is owned by the Community College of Philadelphia. So in this case, the community college is our partner. But because of our proximity to Hahnemann, we think that this is something that the medical program should be very interested in, particularly due to its location. And we were right in that assumption, where with 50% of our occupancy being graduate students, of that makeup, more than half of it are coming from the medical programs from Drexel. So that's really great to see. The other 40%, interesting, is coming from Temple Medical School programs. So they're taking the subway, getting off at Spring Garden, and our facility is right there. So that was a real pleasant surprise. And because we're under construction, we have 2 months of free rent as an incentive, because the entire building will not be completed, and it's prevalent in the marketplace today. So that's the overall summary. I'd like to turn it over to Doreen, or if there's any questions, if those of you are interested, I have another folder that really gets into the detail of the visual amenities and the unit prototypes and so on. And I know you probably have a big agenda, but if you're interested, I'd be happy to go into more details with you. Anything that I missed that you'd like to add in terms of get-togethers and so on?
Drexel is a preferred partner with Radnor Property Group on both of the properties. So there are incentives, whether we're at 94% or at 29% or at 98%. There are still incentives with reduced fees, initial move-in fees, and that type of thing, reduced security deposits with approved credit. So that's important to mention. And also we have some furnished units that we can help out if somebody is interested in that. We help with roommate matching. If you have graduate students that are coming in, or if you're just a professional and you want to share an apartment with someone in the city, we will help with roommate matching, with mixers and whatnot, so people can kind of meet and get to know each other before
Well, what's interesting, at View 32, I'd say the studio models and the one-bedroom units have gone first, and where the two bedrooms have sort of moved a little bit more slowly. At the Hamilton, it's the exact opposite, which is very bizarre to us because after doing a number of these developments in University City, we had thought that would also occur at the Hamilton. Well, interestingly enough, the two-bedroom units where roommates are very important, we're finding a lot of students from the medical programs are teaming up with roommates. And maybe it's because from the medical school perspective, you're in East Falls for the first 2 years. By that time, you get to know your colleagues a little bit more. And by the time you're at Hahnemann, you've engaged with friendships and end up the two-bedroom unit seems to be much more in demand. So that was another interesting observation. Any questions or feedback that you could provide with us would be certainly appreciated.
If we're communicating with incoming students and we wanted to let them know about this, is there contact information that they should who should they contact if they're interested in looking at a place for leasing?
We're going to leave some information. We are online. And on the 18th, which is next week, Wednesday, we're having open house at both buildings, 11 to 3. So this way, if you wanted to send someone over or let us know ahead, View32, or live32.com and Live Hamilton, the Hamilton or
It's the HamiltonValley.com.
I'd like to raise a question with you all. We're actually delighted that the amount of interest is in our Center City location. With the constituencies that you represent, we'd like to encourage University City living, but we're also finding that the graduate student population, is driven to live downtown if they possibly can. Does that sort of comport with your understandings that you deal with your student population at all, or are we missing something?
Like for a lot of international students, I always encourage them to live outside of University City because they get really, they get used to Drexel and just this neighborhood, and there's so much more of the city for them to see. So I always encourage, there's more to Philadelphia than just, 33rd and 38th Street, Chestnut and Market. So
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting. I understand that the graduate student program may be considering a shuttle service that stops at View 32 to go directly to the East Falls campus, which I think would be terrific. The more engaged we can be with View 32 within the Drexel community, I think would be great. Because we are surprised that the Drexel community, from a graduate student population, is actually not in the majority. And we're surprised we're drawing from Penn because the distance is a good 20-minute walk, but we're getting it. So interesting observation. Anything else that we need to add or you'd like to talk about?
I think we're good.
Great. Well, thanks for the time. Look, we're really thrilled to be your partners here and really see this as a graduate student community. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Sorry, I don't mean to crowd your space.
Oh, nice.
I have lots of stuff here. And then this is about the preferred employer program.
The rental range on View 32 is a lot higher than most of our buildings, whereas the Hamilton is more comparable, and I think that's because my students, it's like 800 for studio, 1,000 to 1,200 max for one bedroom in West Philly, and this is way out of there.
And we're sorry, Mrs.
Thank you. All right, so thank you guys for being a good audience for our Radnor property group. They wanted to just come and share those opportunities with you. Next, we're going to move on to some updates from an advisor training and development leadership committee that was developed. So Dane Zudnowski is chairing the committee, so he wants to share some of their updates with you today. Things that could potentially also pertain to you as graduate advisors, not just for the undergraduate advisors. So. Thank you.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
We already have one committee member here present, so Sarah knows exactly what we're talking about. Just to give you some background, it's going to be a quick overview. What I'll talk about is who we are as a committee, current projects that we're working on, and how everyone in this room can get involved with what we're doing. Background to this, do you remember August 2015, we had some NACADA consultants come in to Drexel? Anyone remember that? You want me to go up here?
Yes.
Oh, I'd like to move around. How about this? I'm going to move around up here. Thank you, Jared.
We do have a live broadcast too, so we want to make sure people
Oh,
can
that's
hear.
true.
So
Camera.
if
Cool.
you could
All right.
just be somewhere loud enough where that
This
that
can hear
mic
me?
can hear you, that'd be great.
Does this work for everyone? I'm going to stand right here. Is this good for the mic? Thank you, sir. All right. All right, so back in 2015, we had NACADA consultants come in and look at advising at Drexel. A few things that they recognized in that consultant report were some things we could work on are training and development, assessment of advising, research and advising, professional career ladder within advising, all these fun stuff. So there were 4 leadership committees formed by one of our former colleagues, Steve Shaflin, who's moved on. Rest in peace, Steve. So back in January, February, he formed these 4 leadership committees: advisor training and development, assessment of advising, advising research, and University 101. So those are the 4 leadership committees. I chair this advisor training and development committee. These are a direct result of that NACADA consultant report because, again, these leadership committees are addressing those areas that advising needs to work on here at Drexel. So that's the background of why we're doing it. Here is who we are, this training and development committee. Anyone notice anything about the colleges and departments listed on there?
College of Medicine and Medicine.
Okay, oh, there we go, all right. What else?
Public health.
No, yes, yep.
But not that.
What about beyond the normal departments that you think? When you think of academic advising, what else do you see listed up here? Study abroad. SEDC. The nice piece about these leadership committees is that they're recognizing the fact that students don't only get information and support from academic advisors. Their support team goes beyond their academic advisor, right? They have a co-op advisor, they have a study abroad advisor, they have ISSS advisors, Res Life advisors. So our leadership committees are tapping into that, and we're incorporating members from across the university. So initially, these leadership committees were self-appointed or self-nominated. Academic advisors volunteered to be a part of these. So that's why some schools may be currently missing, because the call went out and they didn't answer it. But, so of the 4 leadership committees, 1 were the largest, 2 were the most active. Since February, we've met every 2 weeks. And I'll show you what we're working on. And it doesn't stop there. I was going to say this at the end, but up front, Patty, for example, if anyone is interested, you can join. Just email me. I'm always looking to grow the committee because the more representation we have university-wide, the better our products are going to be, right? So let me know if you're interested. That's a little bit, that's who we are. So some of our current projects. We just finalized a pre-start checklist. So what this pre-start checklist is, it's really geared towards advising managers for the onboarding process of any new advisor hire. What we want to try and do is create consistency in that onboarding process. So things that are included in this pre-start checklist are things like systematic things. Make sure you get ABT training, make sure you get banner training. Other things, make sure you utilize NACADA resources. Make sure you go to webinars that are offered through NACADA. Make sure you assign a mentor within your department or even outside of your department for the new hire. So this pre-start checklist is really there for advising managers too, because it may be years between the time that an advising manager needs to hire someone. They may have forgotten what they did last time. This is always going to be there, right? So this is creating that consistency piece across the university. BB Learn, we have an academic advising community in BB Learn. Currently, it's undergraduate advisors, study abroad, SCDC, ISSS. Guess who's next to be added? Graduate advisors. We're going to be bringing you guys on board for a lot of things that we're doing. Because again, we want to have that university reach. Next big project that we did just part one of. So again, the need of onboarding and consistency of training of any new hire within advising at Drexel. We created a 2-part workshop series. Part 1 we just did June 28th was Drexel Advising 101. This is meant to go beyond the HR training and beyond the technical training that you get in your home department when you first start. Drexel Advising 101 was really all about, hey listen, this is what Drexel is. This is what a TPAR is. This is what processes look like in the advising world. What the heck is a CCS? What's an LOA? Why is it so convoluted? We wanted to give that insight for new advisors into the way Drexel works, right? It also, big part of it that the advisors liked was we presented real role-play scenarios that we faced with students, right? You know, it's a student on co-op, taking leave of absence, who is an international student who is about to be kicked out or something like that. You know, situations that we at Drexel have faced, with students so they could play it out. Part 2, we're actually running July 26th. We're doing Strengths Quest. Has anyone done that? Yeah. So we're going to do that for advisors. What we're going to do also is couple that with advising philosophy. So we're going to use the top 5 themes that come out of StrengthsFinder and have advisors who participate to start to craft their own advising philosophy that they can use in the day-to-day when they meet with students. So that's part 2. So we've actually, for both parts A and B, parts 1 and 2, we've worked directly with Kathy Choi in Human Resources, and participants are registered through Career Pathways, so it's on their transcript. They get the evaluation, and the hope is that we're going to offer the Part A and Part B, the 2-part series, every 6 months. So that any new hire within a 6-month period can go through the 2-part workshop. So that's that one. Alright, this is where you guys come in. Another need that came out of the NACADA consultant report was assessment of advising. Anyone here from COAS? Deb Frank? Deb Frank is the champion of assessment here at Drexel. She's probably going to be the chair of that assessment committee that I mentioned. In collaboration with Deb Frank and in working with NACADA core competencies. Is anyone a member of NACADA? That's another piece too, right? NACADA. Hey, let's get some grad advisors in there, right? So NACADA has 3 core competencies: conceptual, informational, and relational. Conceptual is the history of what we're doing, advising. Informational, that's the system piece, the day-to-day interactions with students. The relational is the relationship with students. So based on those core competencies, we've drafted up a university-wide advisor self-assessment survey. This is going to be launched hopefully in the next week or so. We're still working out some kinks. To all advisors university-wide. Now when I say advisors, I don't just mean academic advisors. It's going to be academic advisors, both undergraduate and graduate, as well as ISSS, study abroad, SCDC, all of those advisors. The real It's a two-part survey. Part one is you get a chance to really reflect upon yourself as an advisor as it relates to those core competencies. You know, how confident do you feel in talking about developmental advising with a student? Do you think you're a beginner? Do you think you're an expert? How confident do you feel about the systems here at Drexel? Degree works. I like it. I hate it. I need more training. That's going to be a part of it. So we're going to cover all of that. So it's time for you to really reflect on yourself. The second piece, the bigger piece that we're looking to get out of this survey is we'll launch the survey in a week or so. It'll be open for about a month. We'll analyze the data and the results. There's a September retreat, September 11th, for academic advisors. We're going to present the results at that retreat. But really, what the results are going to give us is what professional development opportunities are we going to launch for the 18-19 academic year, and include everyone in this room as well. So even on the survey, you're not going to put your name, you're not going to put your department. You're just going to put, I'm an undergrad advisor, a graduate advisor, or both. We'll get that feedback. And if there's from the grad side, if there's a piece that stands out in terms of professional development opportunity, we're going to share that. Currently, I'm working with Sandra. She's like an ad hoc committee member. I welcome other people who are interested in the committee and want to be involved. But again, you're going to be taking the survey, and whatever professional development opportunities we launch in 18-19, based on this survey, we're going to be inviting you all as well. Let's see. I think that's it. Any questions? Anything you guys want to see right off the bat that you're like, we need? Training, development, Nakata.
Well, I think that we could, some of us at least, use some of the online piece of advising. That's such a different format. You're not sitting with students face to face. It's one thing when you say something and you can see a student's face like absolutely fall, and we're like, oh, okay,
Yep.
that's not going over well. But in an online environment, I think that one of the things that we have a lot of online students throughout all of the colleges, and I don't know how consistently people are kind of engaged in the institution, as well as each other, because oftentimes they can't have students engage with each other in an institutional way, through Drexel, outside of the classroom environment.
So the one piece I mentioned before, the academic advising community through BB Learn, that's one of our, I didn't put it up here, that's one of our future projects, is to revamp that community. And as a part of it, we're going to upload some best practices for advisors.
I have some good ideas, so I
Yep.
will send you.
Exactly, yep. So any information you want to share and you want to put up there, again, in the near future, my hope is to get all graduate advisors access to that BB Learn community. So you have access to the same information as all the other advisors at the university. So we're going to revamp that, and as a part of it, in the separate training and development section of the advising community, any workshops that are facilitated, any trainings that's facilitated, we're going to put them up on the BB Learn community. So for example, Study Abroad does an info session, we're going to record it and put it up on BB Learn so you can access it at any point, along with the supplemental materials. So, was there another hand? Yeah?
If it's not already on the survey, can there be a question about how people assess accelerated degree programs? So like doing both undergrad and grad programs at the same time, or consecutively, or 2 grad programs at the same time?
Do you mind emailing me? Yeah, and let me know. Because I don't think that's specific. We may have a question about BSMS in terms of just curriculum based. How comfortable are you with the curriculum? I don't think there's a specific assessment question about
More
that.
like the nuts and bolts, when they say, oh, can I do this?
Right.
I feel like I need to be a lawyer to figure out.
I think BSMS is the bane of all of ours.
Yeah.
I had a handful of students who can't graduate because of it, so yeah, I get it.
I'm pretty pretty sure that the university pays for the undergraduate advisors subscription to NACADA. So if there's a way that graduate advisors could be included in that, that would be great.
Let's talk to Randy. That is accurate, yes. So through EMSS, all undergraduate advisors have their NACADA membership funded. Why? Let's see what we, yeah. Let's open that up for, yeah, why not, right? Because if you go on NACADA, they have so many resources that, you know, we've used for any of this stuff. Yeah.
I just think it's a general theme that the university has like all these resources for undergrad, and then it's like, oh, well, we'll include you guys. So it's like we created this for this population, and then we're kind of like added in there. So I appreciate the opportunity to be added in, but also to be a part of the development of these things, I think is important to get a graduate perspective.
Join my committee. And just know that what we're creating, we've created with the mindset of it's not just for undergraduate academic advisors. Like I said, the composition of our committee and everything that we're doing has that perspective of university representatives, right? So if you're interested, come join. I need that perspective. Like I said, I'm working with Sandra right now, is my liaison to the grad side of things.
And we're, the BV Learn community, there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, right now we function, we're emailing you guys everything, attachments, you know, YouTube links, videos. So this is gonna be a living archive of, you know, everything that we talk about here, all of the presentations, all of the materials, a space where we can sort of keep the conversation going. So we are looking to build a graduate portion. It's included in what's already existing, but it's really an opportunity to create a separate community within the existing community just for us, so that we're not constantly emailing you guys, but that you know where you can go to find these announcements, resources, and information in one place. So, yep, we're definitely starting to have those conversations, and you know, as Dave said, we welcome anyone that wants to be more involved with this to help us incorporate the grad side, because it is different. Our graduate students are different. There's different processes, especially when we're talking about, you know, doctoral programs and PhD. It's a very different process, working with supervising professors, committee members. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here to develop a new resource.
Anything else?
All right, thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to sort of the last portion of the program. So Annette Molyneux and Rita Magaziner are here to give us some counseling and health updates. Yeah, no details there.
No details.
I meant, okay. Yeah. Hi, I'm Rita. I'm Annette. And a couple of things, but the most important and the reason why we're here, Natalie, I don't know where
She just had to step out for 1
She
minute.
ran away. She asked us to come and talk with you about the changes we've made in the health insurance, student health insurance
For this
policies,
year,
okay?
for the 18-19 year.
Yeah, the upcoming year. The most significant change is that we will no longer have two plans available to students. There will only be one plan, there will be a single plan, and it will be the primarily basic Dragon plan. Now, the reason that all of this has happened, okay, in negotiating with the insurance carrier, with Aetna, which we do, you know, every year regarding rates, and of course when we go out to bid and so
We
on.
negotiate with them every year, but we go to bid every
3 years. We used to be 5 now 6. But we have a consultant who works with us. We work through with Connor Strong. It's the same group that manages the employee health program through HR. They're the ones who connected us with Connor Strong. Anyway, in negotiating with Aetna, now we know that you understand, even for our insurance, the cost of health insurance has just really climbed. One of the largest problems, biggest problems within that is the cost of the pharmacy cost. We have how many thousand students get the health insurance altogether?
5,850 students.
Are enrolled in the Drexel plan. Students, of course, all have the opportunity to waive out if they have parent coverage, but are.
And that's all, we ask all full-time students, grad, undergrad, to comply with the policy. They can waive or enroll, but our undergrad international students must take the Drexel plan. And we default enroll them into the Dragon plan.
Okay, so we in default enrolled, it's about 2,000 undergraduate international students. So they're forced to carry our plan. And there's a history behind that as well that we don't have to go into, but we default enroll them. Okay, so we've been trying all these years to balance, as it is with insurance. The way it works with insurance is that people who don't use plans end up subsidizing the people who use the plans most frequently. That's the way that one works. The origin of the two-plan system goes back years. When we first started carrying health insurance, we had a super basic plan. It wasn't even really a health insurance plan. It was more like an accident and health coverage.
Accident and sickness
Accident,
insurance.
sickness, insurance.
A plan, it wasn't even an insurance plan.
So that was what we offered our basic, the basic plan for students. The med school asked us to create a plan that was a little more robust because they wouldn't be able to get the accreditation needs met using that particular coverage. So we had to create two plans. We worked with Aetna to do that. There aren't a whole lot of schools who have two plans offered. Most schools offer one plan. So we rolled with that for a number of years until the Affordable Care Act went into place. At that point, we had to really rethink and recreate the basic plan because it didn't meet the basic standards. So the basic plan, the Dragon plan, became sufficient to enough so that the med school accepted that as meeting their particular requirements.
It was a gold plan, almost a platinum plan for the requirements for ACA.
So once that was in place, the med school even uses the regular plan, although I think some of them.
Yeah.
So we continued with this two-plan arrangement, but the cost of the Dragon Plus plan every year was higher. Clearly, both plans were higher, but the people who opted to use the Dragon Plus plan were people who had significant medical needs. So the utilization, and this is what we have to go through every year with the insurance carrier, is the utilization statistics. Utilization on the Dragon Plus plan, I think it was 110% was the payout. So they were making no money, they were losing money on that plan. For the Dragon plan, which was primarily undergraduates who are healthy and don't use it so much, the utilization stats were more in their favor. That was acceptable. But in order to maintain the Dragon Plus plan, the cost of both plans, the cost of the basic plan would have jumped how many hundreds of dollars?
The basic plan would have gone up to almost $3,000 if we kept both plans, and the preferred plan would have gone to $4,400. This year it's $2,950.
So.
And Aetna, when this was going through, said to us that if we decided to keep it, if we wanted our $4,500 premium, that this would probably be the last year they would even allow us to have it, because it wasn't sustainable.
Yeah, they were losing too much money on the other arrangement, and it was just the cost, and we had to consider. And we worked with the advisor, with our consultant. The cost to the undergraduate population who were forced to carry the plan that we default enrolled them into. So anyway, the bottom line was we ended up having, the way we resolved this was just going with a single plan that would absorb the additional utilization from the Dragon Plus plan. The problem is that many of your grad students might have issues with the reality that they won't have access to a plan that covers some of their medical issues.
Most of the issues will be with grad students who have medications that are expensive. I mean, I got an email yesterday. Let me say one other thing. I sent out an email to all students last week who had the preferred plan, telling them what was going to be. I was waiting for, lots of students to send something back saying, wait a minute. It didn't happen. We had 3 students email with concerns, one of which who had it will end up costing them $750 a month for their medication. Now, that would have happened because the pharmacy plan had to change, because everyone's pharmacy, ours at Drexel's changed. So I went to our insurance carrier and I said, help me, how can we help this kid? What kid? He's a graduate student, but to me he's a kid. How can we help him? And he said, unfortunately, it's the reality of the situation. He can go to healthcare.gov and get one of their plans, but the rate's going to be really high. And it may cover him 100% for that, but he's going to have a $15,000 deductible.
So, one how or another, regardless, even if we maintain the 2 plans, we have to do something with pharmacy. So
Yeah.
they're restructured into this 4-tier pharmacy. What did he call it? Whatever the terminology is, but it's a 4-tiered system. So you have your generic preferred, whatever, and then there's a cluster of medications that aren't covered essentially. I mean, like a handful of medications. So we had him do a review of how many students would be impacted by that.
It's 50.
As 50 students currently on the plan, or last year.
Out of the almost 6,000.
Who would have been affected. The other thing is that we asked the folks to investigate this, and there are other medications that can be used in combination that would have the same effect. Every medication that's being disallowed or that's costing that exorbitant amount, there's an alternative. But now, one of the things that we need to do with our students is educate them so that when they go to the doctor, if they get a script, they check and make sure that that's not just like a name brand that has a generic equivalent that would be significantly less costly for them. Okay, because there are alternatives. So that's our job, is to make sure the students are educated. The one plus we got out of this all the way around is that students who are on the Aetna plan will not be charged the copay at the student health center or using any of the DuCom docs. So
I mean, I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it can be
big. Yeah. So our students who do use the health center and are referred to doctors within the DuCom system won't be charged the copay. So that was one of the things that the university negotiated for our students, in order to sort of balance out the sting of not having that one particular plan available.
And it's necessary to reiterate that even if we kept both plans, the pharmacy plans would have been exactly the same. It wouldn't have, because it was a preferred plan, it wouldn't have changed anything in the pharmacy. So that student who contacted me yesterday would still have the same problem. The copays are a little different. I mean, the copays, some of the copays are less, some of them are more, but the preferred plan always paid at 100% after the copay. And the Dragon plan pays 80%. But that's why the premium is $2,496, not $4,400. So that's.
We know you're going to get some pushback, and.
Send them to us. We'll be happy to try to explain it as best we can.
What are the new rates for next year for that Dragon plan?
$24.96.
And what was it previously?
$21.66.
So why is there still an increase?
Because of the loss that we received, because of the loss that the preferred plan and the Dragon plan, they came in at a loss. Well, the preferred plan came in at a loss, so we had to subsidize that, and they
when both plans were combined, there's an assumption that some of the students some of the individuals who use the Dragon Plus plan will be absorbed into the Dragon Plan pool.
Also.
And they are heavier users than typically the folks who get into the Dragon pool, okay? So they're anticipating more of an expense to them, more utilization than they had previously in the Dragon plan. So we'll have to see how that turns out. Next year, if the
Hopefully.
utilization isn't, if it's balanced better, then the rates next year hopefully will either
Stay the same or even
or
go down. And the problem was last year, they brought our Dragon plan down somewhat.
Yeah, last year,
And, yeah, so, unfortunately, it's a bigger jump now.
Hi, I have a question. Will the graduate college still provide a subsidy for the PhD students enrolled in the assistantship, and will it match the new rate?
Yeah, as long as they have a full-time assistantship, either RA, TA, or GA, they will qualify for the subsidy, so we will continue that practice. And we'll send out more information probably later in July, later this month.
All right, thank you.
We work with Taz and we said, we write something up that goes to the student, and I'm glad they're covering up to the 2496. That's because it was 2166 last year. Anything else? Any concerns? Any questions?
And we apologize for things being so late out. It's just kind of the way, by the time all the negotiations happened and
It's a long
everything else,
process.
and yada yada, and stretched it out, and so we're kind of right up on the heels of sending out all the information.
But we did send out information to those students who had the plan. The incoming students don't know about the preferred plan unless, colleges have been telling them, but they don't know, so it's new. And we hope we can help those or direct students who have issues best we can.
And just so you know, honestly, we were the only one of the Aetna, in the Aetna book of business, they call it.
There's one other,
there is one
and
other
they're
still.
switching
To a
also.
single plan.
That has two plans. We're the only ones that have it.
When is the 3-year window up for when you're gonna bid? Like, where are you in that 3-year window?
Next year.
Next year.
Next year we go out again. Yeah. And we give everybody a fair shake. I mean, we've
Yeah.
been with Aetna now over 10 years.
15 years.
15 years.
I'm just surprised, because we're on Blue Cross for the employees.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering why they're not negotiating
We
at the same
went to
time.
Blue Cross a couple of years ago to ask them,
When
and
we do a
they,
bid, that we open it up to anybody who's interested in bidding.
yeah, and they laid out their plans, and
Said
they
pick
said,
one.
here, pick one. But we couldn't do that because there's things we need. We need to be able to take students off if possible, if necessary. There's a lot. It's different than an employee health plan. Student plans run so much differently. They just said, here, if you want to pick one of our plans, you can pick one, but that didn't work.
No, but they didn't have the overlay that with student health, you need a significant amount of support.
Yeah.
You need customer service, schooled, and how to
Yes.
manage students who don't know
They run our
anything about,
website for waiving and
insurance.
enrolling.
It gets complicated.
We will certainly send it out to Blue Cross again, as well as United Healthcare, all of them. Everyone's welcome to bid. We welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, we're fine. As much as we enjoy working with Aetna, they've been good partners.
They
If we
have
get a
been.
better arrangement for somebody else, it's okay with us.
We can start a relationship with anyone. Really, truly.
Yeah.
Those of you who know me.
It's just, of course, yeah.
So, if you have questions, call Annette now. RM35 at Drexel. That's me, truly.
Natalie asked me to talk to you for a minute about Jed, the Jed Initiative that's happening on campus, just so you're aware. And I invite anybody who's interested in jumping in on this one. Okay, so it's been a couple of years in the making. The Jed Foundation, for those of you who aren't familiar with this altogether, founded by the parents of a young man named Jed who committed suicide. How many years ago? About 10 years ago. They are devoted, the whole purpose of this organization was to do research, collect as much data as they could to understand the origins, the reasons, and best practices to prevent suicide. That was the original purpose of this organization. They have grown, and because of the data that they've amassed, and because of the research that they've accumulated and so on, they represent for us the gold standard in how to manage mental health issues in this age group, within this age group, because that's where their primary focus is. So the Jed Campus Initiative is an outgrowth of that, and what it is a plan working with the Jed Foundation for college campuses to engage in a really systematic process of not only doing everything that is following best practices, reasonable to do to address suicide and suicidality and to work to reduce the incidents. We know that we can never prevent it altogether because, I mean, look, you have Kate Spade, I mean, like the incidence of suicide in this country, and if you have any interest, I can send you some CDC data from the National Health Organization on the increase. I think it's like a 33% increase in suicide attempts across all age groups. It's the 10th leading cause of death within the 10 top leading causes of death for all age groups, and it's the second leading cause of death for this population. I mean, it's just, and there's all kinds of, you can only, all kinds of reasons why that it is the way it is. Anyway, so the Jed Campus Initiative is devoted to elevating mental health, reducing drug and alcohol abuse, and also addressing suicidality on a college campus. Counseling centers are the catalyst. We bring this onto a campus, but it's a campus initiative. It has been acknowledged. We can do, the College Counseling Center we take the folks who are there, who need the assistance, who already have mental health issues and need the support, suicide attempts, we'll manage that. But we have to go upstream. It's got to be a campus project to do everything that's possible to elevate mental health. And honestly and truly, rather than wait for people to get to that place where we're transporting them over to the hospital because they're making suicide attempts. I could get into all the reasons why things are as messed up as they are now. I mean, everybody's trying to understand what happened to this population. Why is it the case now where suicide is a real alternative all of a sudden? How did that get to be an alternative, an acceptable alternative? But that's another story. Sarit knows because I could go off on this for hours. But okay, anyway, so we have a campus involved committee. We have people from, because it's like 8 different areas that Jed asked us to focus on. One is policy, leave of absence policies. You'll be informed soon of the changes that are being made to the leave of absence. We haven't really had a leave of absence policy, honestly and truly. So we've been working with OGC, our General Counsel Office, Joseph Solomon, and a number of other people to create a real policy. How do you get a student on a leave of absence, and what has to happen for that student's safe return? And have it be consistent across all departments, across all schools, and so on. So that's one of the outcrops of this committee, of these committees. Another one is the police working with facilities to make sure that access is limited, so all doors to roofs are locked, that windows are all locked. I mean, it's that level, okay? Establishing community on campus. What can we do to make sure that students feel more connected? Because we also know that students who are not connected, isolated, are more at risk than students who are more connected, just socially connected. So there's a number of different areas that are addressed through the Jed Campus program. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is because you're all invited to become involved in this. Sarit's involved in this. A number of other advisors are involved. Sabir Sahu and I presented to the President's Council meeting a month ago, 2 months ago, I lost track of time, and all the deans and the all the administrators anyway, who were in the room, all got excited about this. So you may be hearing things about this Jed Campus Initiative through programs as well, just so that you're aware of what's going on. We honestly, the more people who take ownership of this, the more successful the whole program will be. So we invite you to get involved. Yes?
Just a thought, just based on Dane's presentation, is there some way for you to have a piece in Blackboard Learning, advisor training and development?
Oh, thank you. That's one of the things that, one of the outcrops of this initiative. We have mental health first aid trainers available to come onto campus to do gatekeeper training. So we do have, and that's a city project. Philadelphia has mental health first aid trainers available, no cost. It's an international organization, actually, that will come on campus and do that for us. We have an agreement with them now. They just finished training the SEDC folks, and were you involved in that?
A bunch of the undergraduate advisors also were there.
Yeah, and that will be ongoing, so anybody, we'll make sure that you are all aware of when those trainings occur, so that if you can jump in on one of them, you're absolutely welcome. We want you to do this. So we have the gatekeeper training going on. The other thing that we're trying to do is work with advisors and anybody who's interested in learning how to assist students to problem solve, rather than sort of join with them and confirm for them how devastating every issue is, okay? Because students have a problem with distress tolerance, and that's a whole nother issue, but they don't know how to manage in situations that are really challenging. So we're trying to work with advisors to just give you some language that you can use, or some skills that you can use when you're sitting with a student, to just help them think of this as a challenge and a problem that may be solvable. If they give themselves an opportunity to think it through, rather than panic and think this is the end of the world and it's calamity, it's catastrophe, which is typically what happens.
There's a woman who gave a presentation at School of Public Health a while ago on motivational interviewing.
That's it.
And so I don't know if you would be interested in having her talk to advisors about doing that in order to create the growth mindset.
That's one of the things that I've done some of that myself, and we are partnering with the school, with the public health folks who are joining the Jed Initiative to continue doing that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, Sabir and I have a meeting with a lot of those folks coming up in the next couple of weeks. It was really a great opportunity to talk to the President Council group about this, because we have so much talent on campus. We have so many skilled people on campus who really should be doing this, that rather than try to tap, we're a limited number of people over at the counseling center. There's just so much we can do. We need to use every resource that we have. So yes, and if you want to send me a name, that would be great. Thank you. But anyway, so that's what's going on. So we're trying, rather than, because a lot of grad students struggle, and as do the undergrads, but and they feel it, anyway, you get it, you have to deal with this all the time. So, anyway, wanted to just fill you in on what was happening. If you have any questions, you can always ask Sri.
Thanks, Annette.
Yeah.
We're really good at passing it by.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.